Hey everyone out there, how are you guys doing tonight? Oh man, this is always just been on my mind whether I should do this or not because I love The Handmaid's Tale and I love watching people break down episodes and characters and everything. And from the moment I started watching this show, when it first came out, it immediately captured me. Not only is it another post-apocalyptic, oh sorry, I need to, you know, that, that always is kind of scary. Could something like this really happen? I hope not. I really hope not. And just like June and Luke, would you know when to get out? Or would you make it out too late, like they did? I always hoped that I would be like the others and get out soon, but then again, you saw Emily's wife try to get out, and well, she got out because she was a citizen in Canada. And so, if you weren't a citizen of another country, it just made it harder to get out. And so I kind of want to go over the characters and their arcs, whether they've been good, they've been bad, where they're at, how much have they changed. Just kind of go over a little bit of fun of what we like about the characters and stuff. Now, of course, June Osborne, our favorite top character right there. I kind of want to say, like, her character arc hasn't been like this like tremendous huge arc. Like, her actions have been more of the arc, because from the moment she was captured, watching Janine get her eyeball snatched out and having Moira there in the beginning to kind of help guide her of, okay, we don't fight back. So June was kind of a silent fighter. She would walk with Emily to the store and she would narrate and wonder, is she an eye? Is she watching me? Is she a good or a bad handmaid? Does she want the same things as me? And she eventually finds out that they are very much in step with each other. They come from two very different backgrounds, but they both want the same thing. And she goes from this, she starts out as this kind of silent fighter, doing these little things here and there, to, like, her whole affair with Nick was kind of also a silent fight in a way, but she ended up growing feelings for Nick, which was a part of her character arc that was hard for June the whole show. Was, how can I love Luke and love Nick? Because first of all, when she did get with Nick, I mean, she didn't even know if Luke had made it out. Was he alive? Where was he? What was going on with him? And only us watching the show kind of knew, hey, Luke's in Canada. He got out. He's okay. And he's waiting on you. And then Moira got out. And then you saw that they were okay together and just waiting on June. And then it was a big move for June along the way when she became a louder fighter, when she did the angel flight, when she did, when she was staying with Esther's character at the farm, and then she got captured and they used her daughter against her, and then she kind of had to go back to a little bit of a silent fighter. And while she was in Gilead, she kind of bounced back and forth between a silent fighter to breaking back out to being this all-out fighter, and then having to be reined back into a silent fighter, only to break out again until she got to Canada, where she tried to go back in a way because she didn't know how she was going to fight from Canada until they found a way to trap Serena and Fred in Canada. And then she realized, okay, we can do this from Canada, and I have Luke and Moira here. And, what's Rita there, and they're like, okay, we are living in this house together, and we can make plans, and we can do it. And the first little while there was hard on her. I mean, she did kill Fred and everything, which was still kind of her wanting to go back and fight more. And then after kind of realizing what she did, she kind of became a different kind of fighter, because I think in a way she wanted Fred dead, but in a way there was still some guilt there, you know, at what she had done. And luckily she had done it in no man's land and suffered nobody could punish her. Gilead nor Canada could punish her for what she did in no man's land. And so June has just always been this kind of fighter. We just kind of see in different moments how she can fight, whether it be silent, whether it be bold, whether it be just here and there, whether it be like when the Angels fight. She could have been on the Angels flight, but she had to save the whole Angels flight. She had to step up. She got shot. Luckily, she survived that. And I kept reminding myself through the whole show, okay, this is called Handmaid's Tale. So a handmaid wrote this. So a handmaid had to, that handmaid's June, right? And so June's got to survive this. And I kept telling myself that every season that this show rolled. And now it's getting even more stressful as we get into season 6 to tell yourself that, okay, this is written by a handmaid. We're thinking it's June because it looks like most of June's perspective. Could it be Janine? Could it be June and Janine? Could the Handmaid's Tale be... It says Handmaid's Tale. Well, I mean, it has a comma S, so it's, taking possession. So if it was an S comma, then it would be handmaids. And that, then that might mean many handmaids. So this could be just one Handmaid's Tale. But I was just watching a video that said, hey, in the book, some of this perspective is being told from a guy 200 years in the future telling of Gilead's fall. So we know, spoiler, that Gilead, we might see it fall. We might see it fall next season. So that could be why it's their last season. Gilead's gonna fall, and what's the story after Gilead falls? Do they get America back? Do they get democracy back? What do they get back? Do they know how to vote for a president? Do they know who to vote for? I mean, is June gonna become the first female president? Woo! Everybody's gonna vote June because she's been this, leader all the way, the leader of the rebellion, the top of the rebellion, how America was put together was the people that led the rebellion were the ones who signed the Constitution, who eventually, most of them became presidents. And so, you never know. Maybe that's where the show's going. It could be. It could not be. It'd be interesting to find out at the end of season 6 if that prediction goes that way, that I predicted that June might step up to take the first role in president and getting democracy back. Maybe June, Moira, Rita, all these top contenders might sign a new constitution and get our country back. Maybe we'll see a whole new remade constitution, like a whole new revolutionary war all over again, because it's no longer America, it's Gilead, but we got to get America back. And so they're probably going to keep the name America, probably, and we might see all these big contenders. But that brings in the next question. Serena, where's she going to be in all this? Because Serena, if she had it her way, she'd be in Gilead right now with her baby, probably married to Commander Lawrence instead of Putnam. Miss Putnam marrying him. And, I mean, the only reason why Serena is smiling at June right now is because she doesn't want to lose her baby. But does she realize she's staring into the eyes of a woman that she's tortured for many, many years now with "I have your child and I'm not giving her back"? A whole decade of this torture? Like, this show's gone over the course of about a decade now, hasn't it? I mean, because it wasn't Hannah about 3-ish, 4-ish? And now she's like 13? So we've seen almost a decade of missing out on being Hannah's mom. And I don't know, me, if I was June standing on that train looking at, yeah, I'd hand her a diaper and then I'd be like, how does it feel to have your kid? How does it feel to get to keep your kid? How does it feel to not want to lose your kid? Okay, how are you going to help me get my Hannah back? You're not going to, are you? Because if you had a chance, I mean, we saw in Serena's past life that how it's so funny how Fred stood behind her and she was the one up giving all the speeches. She wrote the books. She did everything to get Gilead to come about, and then she took a step back and then was upset when Fred moved from Serena's shadow up into his own with his circle of men ruling the country, and Serena moved into the shadow and she couldn't read, she couldn't write. It was now against the rules. Like, why would a woman that wrote a book, that gave speeches, that wrote speeches, want to even set up this strict of a country? I mean, I understand her wanting to get back to the old ways. They were called the Dark Ages for a reason, because that was when one religion kind of ruled and everybody had to follow that. Kings, queens, everybody. And what Serena wants to go back and set ourselves back into the Dark Ages, where one religion rules over all of Gilead and everybody follows that religion and those beliefs and that lifestyle, or you die. And if you try and leave, we're going to capture you and we're going to put you back in captivity, or we're going to kill you, or we're going to send you to the colonies. And it's just putting us back in those dark ages is just so horrific. Like, I can't believe she didn't see how horrific being put back in the dark ages was going to be. Did she ever sit down and say, what I'm doing is history repeating itself back in the dark ages, and that's all I'm doing? You know, she didn't. And so Serena is interesting character, because at one point they kind of want you to feel sorry for her when she gets captured in Canada, when she wants to kind of break it off with Fred, then she goes back to Fred, and because at one point she was just going to take the baby away from Fred and not even be with Fred. But then they got, she kind of bounced back and forth after she got to Canada for a while, and her and Twillo, you could see that they were starting to have feelings for each other. They were getting there. Why he would, I don't know, maybe he just likes a good, strong woman, but I mean, Serena is a good, strong woman and knows what she wants, but you can't force it on everybody, and that's why America's here is so, I mean, create your own town if you really want to live that kind of lifestyle. I mean, go find a place in the middle of nowhere where nobody is and build your town with your religion, and you pay for the town, you choose who gets to live there, and you choose kind of your rules. I mean, you can't kill anybody if they want to leave the town, and you can't totally, and it's just so funny that Canada supports Serena. And if I was people like June and Maura, I mean, I wouldn't yell back at the people that were protesting for Gilead in Canada. I would walk up and say, since you love Gilead so much, and I wish one of the characters would do this, is walk up to him and say, so you support Gilead, right? You do. And you support everything they're doing. Great. Here's my handmaid costume. Why don't you go put on my handmaid uniform, go to Gilead, and be a willing handmaid? Because there's one thing about supporting and talking and stuff, and then there's another thing about go put on the handmaid, go live this life, and tell me if you enjoy it and you willingly do the ceremony every month and you willingly do everything they ask you to do. I mean, I guess there's possible that some people will do it because obviously Gilead is standing because, well, some people will. Not the handmaidens. I mean, everybody who has any bit of power, if you're a woman wearing turquoise, meaning you're a wife, and that means you have some power over your household at least. And so that automatically puts you above your handmaids and everybody. And so it's really easy for Serena to slip back on that turquoise dress and run a household. But the second, just for the first minute she got put as a handmaid and told to go to her room, she couldn't even handle the first minute, the first thought of, I'm a handmaid. And then her baby got taken away. And then she was put in the handmaid's position. And she immediately conned her way out of that position, stole her baby back, and took off running. She didn't last anywhere near as long as what, I mean, it's just amazing. So it's just like, I want to tell the people in Canada, great, you support them. Then go there. Go take my place. Let's have some willing handmaids be there so they don't have to steal women. Let's find some, I mean, that's all Gilead needs to do. If they really want this system in place, quit stealing women, quit stealing children, put families back together. Go find those willing handmaids in other countries and bring them over. Because obviously, there are willing people that want to live that way. Like I said, get your own town, get your own state. I don't know. Maybe go find a country in the world that isn't a country anymore. Go buy that up. Go overtake that. Make your own country there. But don't take over a currently established country of millions of people, put them under martial law, and degrade them and downsize them, women and everything they fought for, and the LGBT community and the racial and everything they fought for was all reversed and they were killed. Or in Emily's case, I mean, she was put as a handmaid, but she got a severe punishment for loving somebody else and stepping out of line. And it's really harsh because Emily and June do have that in common, that while their spouses got out and got to Canada quickly and never had to experience Gilead, and they did fall in love with other people that were trapped in Gilead with them. The only thing is, now we get to Nick's arc where, well, Nick grew out of being a driver and he still was in love with June, but he had to take that commander role. He had to take on a wife. He had to do everything the other commanders told him so that he could climb the ladder to eventually where he's at, standing by Lawrence. And so Nick is kind of finding a little bit of what he believes and what he wants, because he's climbing the ladder, he's gaining power. And him and Lawrence have this idea of New Bethlehem. Now, why didn't they let Lawrence do New Bethlehem in the first place? Here, people who don't want to be a part of our new Gilead, let's stick them on this side of the country. Even though that's still unfair, at least they get to keep their kids and their freedom and stuff like that and whatnot. And procreate in their own way. And since how there's no more abortion, maybe if they have a kid they don't want, they'll give it to Gilead. I don't know. Maybe they could have people living in New Bethlehem that take the children that are unwanted, that you know, and give them to Gilead, and they work a partnership with New Bethlehem. So, and I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying, like, tossing around ideas in the head of, going off what Lawrence wants. Now, Lawrence, he's the one that I was talking about, that we want to talk about the good and the bad, the good that went bad. The guy who helped the angel flight, the guy who helped Martha's and handmaids, the guy who loved his wife very much, the guy who would refuse to take on a handmaid, who refused to do the ceremony, who felt disgusted after the one time he had to do the ceremony with June because the commanders insisted on it and were going to check up on it, he finally gets a bit of upper power, because back then when he was doing all that, he was kind of like, yeah, he was a commander, but he was kind of low on the totem pole when it came to commanders, because, well, he wasn't at Jezebel's hanging out with them, and it's just such a guy's country. To the women stay at home, and the men get these handmaids to have sex with. They get to go to Jezebel's. They get to, do whatever they want. And the wives can't say anything. Such a guy's country. But not all guys are like that. I'm not saying all guys are, because let's not blanket statement. Let's just put it where it's at. That some of these guys, these pious men. But, Lawrence does finally start putting down people like Putnam, because Lydia, with her arc, I mean, the woman who snatched out Janine's eye to go to being Janine's biggest advocate. And I wish Lydia had been more straight with Janine in this very last episode and said, look, if you don't go play the role of handmaid, look, Lawrence ain't gonna do the ceremony. Lawrence probably ain't gonna do all that. But you gotta go play the role. Because if you don't play the role, they're gonna stick you in the real role, or the colonies, or somewhere else. They got something else in mind for you. And it's gonna be so much worse than if you just suck it up and play the role. So, what's in store for Janine? I hope she doesn't die. Some people are guessing she's going to die in the next episode or the next season. That is something that has to happen, because I would like to see Janine live through this. And although, isn't she the one that had a son that died, so she's never going to get her kids back? I mean, she might get Angela back if she can. She has one kid possibly out there that she can get back, so there's some small chance for her. And Esther, she comes from, I mean, she was made a wife way too early on. And then it makes you worry about Hannah, because you see that they made Esther a wife too early on, way too young. She was the first real young wife, because all the people that it had established Gilead had established marriages and spouses, and they were much older. And here they are putting their first young girl, because she is now past that time in her life where she is changing into a woman. Now it's time for her to go get married. And you see her just foolishly acting like a, I don't know, badass wife or something. Like, I can do anything I want. My husband's really old. He doesn't care. We're, blah, blah, blah. And meeting June changes her. And that's why she ends up almost killing her and Janine. And I don't want to see Esther die either. It's sad that she is pregnant with Putnam's child, and that she's going to have to carry that. And no, they didn't protect her. They let Putnam take her into a room but You know, it's the Lydia was supposed to say no, that's not the way Gilead works. You cannot be alone with a young woman in a room. And until she's your handmaid tomorrow, you can't do anything with her, and you just can't freely do anything with her. You do have to wait to the ceremony. And but it's just crazy, all these men who before Gilead started, these faithful men go and build this country where they legally don't have to be faithful anymore, and they're highly religious, and but yet not faithful at the same time. Isn't that crazy? It's just crazy how the human minds can work. It's just like you can be you establish this country based on this heavy faith, and God's going to reward you with kids and health and everything, but at the same time you're playing a little bit of the devil too. And is there something playing in my background? I think there is. Ugh. No, I know what I did. That was okay. Now I know what's playing in my background. I didn't hear it because it was so quiet. Sorry if for part of this video things were saying in the background. Moira, she has been so interesting. She's been with June in the before, and she has been there with her in the beginning of being handmaid. Then she got dished a hard hand when she got thrown in Jezebel's and taken advantage of left and right. And June came along and saved her and got her to Canada. And she ended up becoming a fighter in Canada, taking care of Luke and taking care of the Angel flight when it came in, and so disappointed when June didn't come with it. And she found June in Chicago and convinced her to come back because she just knew that she needed to come to Canada and that the fight could continue in Canada. And Moira knew first of all that it could continue in Canada because she was part of the fight that was fighting in Canada when Canada was first against Gilead and what they were doing. It wasn't until they brought Serena and Fred to Canada that the protesters came on behalf of Gilead, and things kind of started falling apart. And Moira could be shown more. She's not shown enough. But like I said, it's the Handmaid's Tale, and I'm guessing it's written by June, shown from June. And so she writes about the time she was with Janine, the time she was with Moira, the memory she has with Moira, and what she found out about how Moira escaped. I mean, some of this book was written on first account, and some of this book was written on, you know, getting back together with Moira and finding out her story and writing it into the book. Or, like I said, it could have been written by many handmaids putting their story all together of how they intersected with June. And so, you know, they should have listened to Moira a little bit more. June kind of went off the rails still a little bit in Canada, and Moira is her voice of reason, and she's been June's voice of reason from the before the immediate from the immediate capture in the handmaids, when Aunt Lydia was teaching them in the handmaid school. And you know, she's just really knows how to control her emotions and handle things, whereas June just is like very emotional and And it's not bad. I mean, her emotions are what drives her to do what she needs to do, but she also holds them back because look at her smile at Serena on the train when Serena asked for a diaper because Serena took off with a baby and barely any diapers. And so every diaper she had to change, I bet she was counting down, going, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, this ain't good, you know? And so, I wish we could get more of, the story from Moira's perspective at times. I want to see Moira's perspective from her personality and her view of, you know, getting to Jezebel's everything she went through, manically escaping, just driving and screaming all the way because she didn't know if she was going to get out, and she did get out and amazingly made it to Canada and was gifted this money and clothes and phone and everything they needed, everything she needed. She went from escaping with only the clothes she was wearing to getting handed all this stuff and finding Luke and getting back together with Luke and, you know, starting their fight right there in Canada. And, I would like to know kind of how the fight started in Canada and what parts did Moira take in getting that fire lit in Canada of the fight starting and everything, I want to see a little bit of Moira's perspective of, how things went. But, I mean, spin-offs are crazy, too. Like, I don't know if, like... Because sometimes when they do a spin-off, you could do it right or you could do it wrong. But I don't know if we need a spin-off or not to show her perspective or not. But, I mean, like I said, it would be nice to see more of the story, like, from her side. But we mostly, like I said, see the story from June's side and how everybody intersects and comes together with June. And Hannah, let's talk about how strong Hannah's being. She is her mother's child, fighting that silent fight all the way. And I think it hurt in past episodes when she's like, why didn't you just come get me? You let these people take me. You didn't come get me. You didn't save me. And I hope she understands that her parents, her adopted parents, kept June away with literal threat of death. And I hope that the meaning of the last time we saw Hannah writing her name down, and that meant that she understood that June is not forgetting her. People are dying to get to Hannah. A little girl lost her father in Canada to... Man, how I wish it's like you could turn back time and let's say, okay, let's redo this operation. Hey, just in case, this spy network goes two ways, let's send in 3 rogue planes. And if they get shot down, either the other 3 turn around or they go a different route. Or they come in from a different route, maybe from California angle or something, or, just something else. Like, let's send in 3 rogue planes. And if 3 rogue planes make it there, well, I don't know what they're going to do, but, I mean, maybe could have sent in some rogue planes and been a little smarter about the spy network goes 2 ways. The eyes are everywhere. And eyes are acting as spies, and they are gathering information. And it's just really sad because at that moment you're like, okay, there's Hannah, there's the planes, there's the parents, the season's almost ending, so that means they're going to get Hannah finally, right? And then they're going to take down Gilead, right? No, I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. It's not. They didn't take down They didn't get Hannah back. They didn't take down Gilead. I mean, it's nice that Canada finally decided, let's take this literal fighting stance. But now they're taking this scared stance of get everybody on a train. At first, when they said train to Hawaii, I'm like, how are you going to get to Hawaii? Okay, you train to Hawaii. I can see a train to Alaska, but not to Hawaii. But technically, it is to Alaska, and then they pitch a flight to Hawaii. And so it's going to be a little bit of a long journey. They're going to have to go north to go south. And what are they going to do once they get to Hawaii? I mean, are they going to show the journey? Or is it going to be a smooth journey, and season 6 is going to start off with we seeing June walk out on a balcony with Nicole and some coconut trees in every corner of her yard, and far out is a beach with waves crashing, and they got this little bungalow, and maybe Luke gets released because, in America, what Luke did, he did fight or flight. He pulled the guy out of the truck. He was going to run over June a second time. Had Luke not done that. And then they fought. And yes, see, what I kept seeing when I saw that episode was, look at the gun. Look at the gun that Luke's not picking up and touching. Because Luke could anytime pick up that rifle and shoot the man and flat out murder him. He just incapacitates him enough to save his wife. Which is, if America was around, I imagine that would have been reasonable. But here you got an American attacked a Canadian. It doesn't matter that a Canadian attacked American. I mean, you saw it where he rolled over her arm. You saw that, right? Oh my God. I about died when the tire went over her arm. Oh, the arm crunching like that. Oh my, ow. I've seen feet get run over by cars before. And so I know feet can survive. My brother, his foot got ran over by a flat tire. So, if anything's going to damage your foot, a flat tire, that rim, And so, so I know that why her arm's not completely flattened. But, my gosh, it was still just horror and cringe and awful and a position I wouldn't want to live through or be in, And I bet you don't either. I highly doubt. And so it's these character arcs are just, I want to know where Emily went. I have a feeling it was Alexis Bledell's character, or Alexis Bledell that stepped out on the role, and that's why Emily had to disappear, because I just don't imagine Emily leaving her wife and son and running back to Gilead. I wish they could have given her kind of a better story. I don't know what else story they could have gave her, though, because she had been through so much. Watching her new lover in Gilead be hanged as they drove away and closed the doors, to waking up in a hospital bed being told, hey, guess what's gone off your body? And she makes it back to her. June ditches her, hands her a baby, and says, no, you go to Canada. She magically makes it through that water without her dying, without the baby dying, because me and my husband were watching that episode sitting there going, no, the baby, that cold of water, being thoroughly dunked, no, the baby would be dead. Maybe, possibly, most likely. And so, amazing for them to survive all of this, just for her to stay depressed, get upset, run back to Gilead. Now, let's talk about when June did first get to Canada, and Emily and everybody was there, and June was so angry, fresh off the boat, literally, and disrupted this meeting because nobody was showing their hatred, you know? And so she just kind of just brings this literal fight that this fight that she had in Gilead, she brings it to Canada and brings it all back to everybody else going, aren't you angry too? Up to the point where not only did they help her kill Fred, but they're like, okay, we killed your Fred. We killed your commander that raped you. Now I have a commander that raped me. I, you know, have this a similar situation. You owe me. And so June had passed on all of that hate and everything and anger and everything, and she did some good things with it by getting those 20 trading Fred for 21 women. That was great. Just because she wanted to kill Fred. Like, one commander's death for 21 free women, you know, to help bring down Gilead because Fred was an essential part. He was one of the top commanders. I mean, he was Commander Waterford. And, you know, I wonder what it was like for him in the before when he was married to Serena, planning all this, knowing that he was going to overstep his wife and, you know, push her into the shadow. And because you see these flashbacks of how much he pushes and supports her, because there's times that she doubts herself in these flashbacks. And Fred is there going, no, 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 no. You could do this. You're going to do this. This future needs to happen. I mean, what was going through his mind at this time? Did him and the commanders, were they already starting to plan all this behind the back? I mean, who built Jezebels and all that? And, you know, because obviously, the commanders didn't take down Jezebels. They visited it. So it was kind of a planned thing, like, hey, let's take these handmaids, let's sterilize them, they can't have babies, and then they're free to, you know, the women that can't have babies, the really hot, cute women that can't have babies, let's just sterilize them, and, you know, and we'll take the ones that we don't care what they look like or whatever, we're gonna make them, but they can't have babies, we're gonna make them, you know, our handmaids. And, I mean, when did the commanders, they don't show when the commanders started coming into this, because you see Serena doing the speeches and writing the books and reading the books and everything. And can anybody tell me when the commanders came into this? When did Waterford meet Putnam and Lawrence and all of them guys, and they decided when Gilead, after we get this country under martial law, we are its round table kind of thing, or its top table. You know, we are its top table. Like, where did they find these guys, and when did they come together and decide that, okay, women aren't going to be able to read, even though my wife wrote the book on literally what we're going to be doing? I mean, did Serena know when she wrote the books about trying to tell everybody going back to this kind of lifestyle was healthy for you and bring you closer to God, and with being closer to God and everything, the babies will come, because the country's gone so far off the rails that no wonder why, we're having these low birth rates. And where did it go from encouraging people to follow her to forcing people to follow? Whose idea was it that it went from encouraging people through speeches and lectures and book signings and all of this. When did it cross that line to no, this is how we're gonna take over? I've kind of gone back and tried to pick through season 1 and 2 to see these backstories. It would take a long time to put one of those videos together to see the whole backstory of Gilead. The befores, the beginnings, the middle, the fall, or the slow decline and the fall. Like, all of that. Just organize these scenes and these views, you know? And, so, whose idea was it? Was it in the show? Is there a certain episode I need to go back to see this? Did I miss it? I'm gonna try and go back and find all of Serena's backstory again because, and maybe if I find the answer, I'll do another video on here's the answer, how the commanders came together and did all this, how they met each other and everything. Was it through chat rooms? Just kidding. And yeah, so Lydia, let's talk about Lydia, I guess. We haven't talked much about Lydia. No, we kind of did. You know, she goes from seeing the girls. I think when they didn't kill Janine, it started to change Aunt Lydia a little bit. Little bit, just, but not enough yet. You know, and then I think it really hurt when Janine escaped from the red van and crossed through the train tracks and made it to Chicago with June and then came back. And by the time Janine came back, Lydia was a different person, or starting to become this different person of, I'm not just teaching these girls, I'm their caretaker, I'm their, and she stepped up to Lawrence and took a bigger role and said, no, look, no, I'm in charge of these girls. You come to me if you have any problem with these girls, if you need anything with these girls, and if the girls don't work out, they return to me. They are my girls. And so when, you know, Lydia formed that new opinion of seeing them more human, but unfortunately she still believes in the practice, I keep losing the words, you know who we haven't talked about? Rita. I love the way she counsels June. I mean, I know she does have a dead son. And she tells June, I would fight like hell if my son wasn't dead and still in Gilead. But she's perfectly happy staying in Canada because that's all there is for her, is just Moira, June, Nicole, Luke, and eventually, hopefully, Hannah. But now that's been ripped away from Rita. Can we talk about what's been ripped away from Rita and Moira at this very last thing when they stuck everybody on the train? They ripped away the only family they have left because everybody else is dead. They ripped that away. And so that's really hard on them right now. I can't imagine what Rita and Moira are going through right now, because how are they going to know when June is safe? Do they know that Luke got taken into custody? I'm sure they're going to see it on the news soon, and then they're going to know. And then they're going to know that at least Nicole and June got away. And this is so backwards because in the beginning, Luke got away and June and Hannah were captured and separated, and then you know what happens. And then the reversal happens after Luke gets put through a harsh 5th season of, you don't know what June's been through. You stayed in Canada. You didn't go back. You didn't fight. You didn't step into this. You didn't risk anything. Now he's risking it all. And June And I mean, he did try and risk it all. Let's give him props for he did let June and Hannah run. Now I kept being like, June, you and Hannah just need to stay for the like next hour or two, right there, quietly. Don't move, because the worst thing you do in a forest is when they lose you. The worst thing you could do is start moving again sometimes. And it was them running again that got them caught. Because Luke did step up. Luke did step up at that moment and say, you run. There's obviously a car here, so they know there's people. And I'm going to try and play it off like it's just me. And I'm going to give you and Hannah that start you need. And June hears the gunshots, and she doesn't even know if Luke's still alive. And that's what made it easier for her to be with Nick, because I mean, she wasn't sure that Luke was even still alive. How did she know he made it to Canada? I mean, she didn't know until Moira said so in Chicago. And so, yeah, I have this up because I gotta look at their faces because there's so many characters to remember their names and everything, and it's like I gotta remember all of this to talk about them. There's just so many characters in this cast to go through. I think I've gone through most of them a little bit or more in depth, or you know, and I wonder if Moira and Rita are going to be hassled in Canada, or are they going to live in peace, or are they going to eventually catch the next train to Hawaii once June gets there safely and say, okay, well, June's there safely, we should join her. But Hawaii, what are they going to do when they get over flooded with what's leaving Canada? Because Canada can't handle it. Now what's Hawaii going to do? I mean, they're still America. They have to accept them. Is there a president or anything in, or is just the governor still running Hawaii? I mean, how are they still claiming America and holding America together in Hawaii and Alaska? And where would you go? Would you go to Hawaii, or would you go to Alaska if you're in a situation? I mean, Alaska's really cold, but you don't chance flying over to Hawaii and getting your plane shot down because it's Gilead gonna go attack the plane that, hey, June might be on that plane. Let's take it down. Because who's gonna survive a plane crash, right? Nobody. And so it would be amazing if they did. So I'm actually scared for June and everybody to be traveling right now. Like, maybe the trip to Alaska might go okay, but I'm actually really scared for the trip. But like I said, I keep telling myself that this Handmaid's Tale was written by a handmaid. It's a Handmaid's Tale. And so, who's the handmaid that wrote it? Are we sure it's June? Tell me in the comments, how sure are you is it that June wrote The Handmaid's Tale? I mean, it has to be her, right? It's all from her perspective and acquaintances and everything. Because no other characters get these alone moments like June does. Like when June had Nicole all by herself and stuff, and everything she went through during those 3 or so days in that house by herself. Oh gosh, I couldn't have a baby the way June did. No, no, no. I couldn't have a baby the way any of these handmaids did. I need the drugs. But, this is just such a harsh reality that it's just one of those apocalyptic. I do watch a lot of apocalyptic stuff, and it scares you. Hunger Games and 2012 and whatnot, and all those movies. I can't think of a lot right now, but I mean, they just scare you about, because Hunger Games goes through the whole thing of, well, democracy didn't work, so we did it this way. But then they're like, well, democracy's still better than at least this. So it's like the lesser of all the evils. Like, there's no perfect government out there, but you got to take the lesser of all evils to run a country of people. I mean, the UK, Canada, and Australia actually don't do too bad. I mean, imagine if we hadn't have broke off. Or did, because we broke off, did that make it so Canada and Australia didn't have to officially break off, but they kind of did? Because the royal family kind of died out there? Or was it time for royals to stop, dictating over everything? And now they're just recognized as the royal family, but there's new government in place. And so, can we get to this point? In this book, I mean, when were these books written? I think in 1984, right after the 1980 George Orwell's 1984 is George Orwell's, right? 1984. I've been recommended by my uncle and everybody that's very political to read this 1984 book, and I haven't, and I need to. But I should wrap this up. It is going a little long. It's almost 2 in the morning here. I've been so crazy about just talking about these characters and getting it out there. Please comment, subscribe, like. I do want to do more breakdowns. I'm into Marvel. I just kind of did a 25 things about, the Midnight Club. I do want to do some breakdowns of my favorite shows and characters too, and discuss them. I think that would be a great. My channel is just kind of a multiple thing. I stream games with, and I talk about. I have multiple interests, and my life has always had multiple interests. I just never let them intercede like this before. And now, like 5 years ago, my channel was just all about psychology, Myers-Briggs, personality typing, different curses, different personality types, all kinds of stuff. And that's where my channel was going for a couple of years. I did add a little bit of vaping into it. But now I'm just letting my family, because back then, 5 years ago, I was, 5, 6 years ago, I was still having kids and stuff, and they weren't old enough to game with me and stuff. And now that they are old enough to game with me, they're old enough to game and stream with me and stuff like that. And I don't know, my 6-year-old might be old enough to start talking about breaking down his favorite TV shows. Maybe I should let him have a small channel and let him talk about his favorite TV shows and break them down for you. So, I don't know, I'm just, watch my channel. It's just all my interests. For Christmas, I told my husband, because I used to do my videos on a little, I called it a burrito camera, and I just put an SD card in there, and I'd film it, go plug it into the computer, download it to YouTube, boom, done. Video, done. And now I'm actually using an external camera that hooks into my computer, external mics, headphones, to dual monitors, programs, whatnot. I'm starting to get a little bit better. Like, I started out, right after Halloween. I planned it all October long how I was gonna make a comeback, and then I was just told, no matter how crappy your stuff is, just make that comeback, learn along the way, get better. And that's what I'm doing. I'm slowly making steps. I just got this mic right after Thanksgiving. I'm slowly doing stuff to make my channel a little bit better each time. If you know how to help me, I can't afford editors. I can't afford to send my stuff off to editors. I can't pay editors and stuff to make it better. I even tried so hard before I did this breakdown. Instead of putting up just the characters right here and me showing you, talking about the characters, what I really wanted was to insert movie clips. And I don't get how people do that yet. I tried to watch YouTube videos on it and stuff, and I even went to a few websites that had movie clips, and they give me URL links and stuff, and there's no way to download them to YouTube and then insert them, and I'm not getting how to do it. But I don't have anybody in my life. I don't have friends and family. I don't have people in my life that some of the best channels I watch on YouTube, so jealous of people with friends and family that come together, help them script the shows. I script the shows in my mind, and I hope when I talk to you it comes out to be everything I wanted it to be. And I've added a couple extra thoughts in here because I thought it on the way as I was talking. I went a little off script. And I script my show in my mind for days. I lay there at night thinking about it, and then I do it. And then I run my programs and do the best I can, try and make it look the best I can. I'm making my own thumbnails now and everything, and I'm just trying to do everything the best I can. And so, I don't know. I wish I could afford editors, but you know what? There's other people who do breakdowns who have followers and people like them who do breakdowns like me, just from a room in their house, just with their personality and their likes. And I hope you like what I had to say about some of the characters of Handmaid's Tale. I hope I brought some extra thoughts to you that maybe you never thought about. And just hope you enjoy it. And I appreciate any and people who do subscribe to me. I do go check out your channel. There is a place on YouTube where I can see who subscribes to me. And I don't just go, oh, I got a new subscriber. I go check out the new subscriber. And a lot of people that subscribe to me don't, and that's okay. Not everybody's fit for YouTube. I've always kind of wanted to be a little bit of an actress too. I grew up in front of the camera. I loved it. I followed the camera everywhere it went. And so I don't mind the camera. I get a little rusty at first. I'm getting more comfortable. If you watched me at Halloween time a month ago, I was like, oh, time to get back on the camera. But now I'm just like, okay, I'm back on the camera. And my kids helped me get there too by just jumping in there and streaming our games. And so, yeah. I still check out your channel. I still check out who you are. I like to know my followers. And if you do have a channel, I would follow it right back. I have done that on stream, followed back some that have followed me. And so I, paid the favor back. And so hopefully I will see your name listed next on subscribes and likes. And write down in the comments what you thought. Did I give you any extra thoughts? What do you think? What's your favorite character? What character inspired you the most? Is it the obvious June like everybody else? Is it the little bit that we've seen of Moira? Is it Moira and her way of thinking things through, her thinking less feeling type? Is it did you like Lawrence at first and now you just kind of hate him and he's just becoming so selfish now, and because he figured out that June could have stopped the wife's death, but would she have been happy? But you still should have stopped the wife's death. But, it was a sad moment when June let that happen. And you knew eventually that was going to ruin their relationship. And those planes just pushed June over the edge to say, yeah, I watched your wife die. And did nothing. And that's... Have you ever been pushed to that anger point where you're like, yeah, okay, fine, I did it. And at the moment, you're sounding like you're proud of it, even though you're not. But you're just so hurt by what somebody did to you that you're just like, you know what? I had to get that out of my chest because you hurt me. And is that right? It's not right to eye for an eye. But we understand why she did it. And maybe she needs to apologize now. But she doesn't need to go to New Bethlehem. That's not the apology she needs to give. But hopefully we'll see you on YouTube. And thanks for everything you guys do for me. And I appreciate it.